All right, then it is 7 o'clock, and I am going to call the September 19th meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Clerk Track, will you call the roll, please?
Bartholomew.
Here.
Edwards.
Here.
Fowler.
Yes.
Hart.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Poznanski. President Malzahn.
Here.
All 7 are present.
We have a quorum. Thank you very much. On your agenda tonight, next up, we have the consent agenda. You have in your packet the meeting minutes from August 15th, 2022. You have council bills and the vendor report. Council bills are $34,193.77. And the vendor report reflects $549,137.22. Also in the consent agenda is tonight's meeting agenda. So, is there any discussion?
I have something to add to the agenda. You said last month we were going to discuss the FSG LLC lawsuit against the village.
I have an update in my president's report for you.
So we're not discussing it, or you're just updating the report?
Just going to give you an update, yeah?
So we don't have to meet in closed session?
Nope.
So the lawsuit is still ongoing, or is it done?
I'll update that in my president's report, absolutely.
Okay. And my last question on that is, when were we going to be informed of the activities of which
Right.
that office has been doing?
Yep, at tonight's meeting.
Because I get asked questions by the residents. 'Cause
absolutely.
It was posted in the paper.
Yep.
And for us to look dumbfounded and say, I don't know what the heck's going on in our village
Sure.
office. All right.
Can we still add it for discussion if need be after the update?
Sure.
Okay. Then I'd like to add that, the lawsuit of FS&G versus the village for discussion. We can-
We've not addressed this as new business, as unfinished, as new business, so it would be added as
D?
10D.
Okay.
Any other additions to the agenda?
I do have a couple requests. To bring up our citizen task force for the park. Should be on here. We were coming back at this meeting to appoint the people, so can we add that under?
I am not prepared to make those nominations tonight, but I can let you know that we are working with that. Ms. Rivard and Mr. Tabernet are not here tonight, so
Okay.
we're still working on the names.
Can we put that under C on unfinished business?
Citizen task force.
So what are we adding? I didn't,
She wants to add the citizen task force
okay. This
as
is
unfinished business.
C. All right.
Yes. And then the crosswalk project to be discussed.
Again,
Let's do D under unfinished.
D, sidewalk,
that would be E, under unfinished, I'm sorry.
crosswalk.
What is this one?
The pedestrian crosswalk. Any other additions or deletions?
That is it for the agenda. I do have other items under the consent agenda, though.
It's difficult to hear.
I can't pull it any farther. Thank you. Thank you. I do have other things under, nothing else for the agenda, but I do have other items under the consent agenda when the time is right.
Okay. So are there any changes to the minutes from August 15th?
I do have a change
Okay.
to page 1, 2, 3, the fourth page, under unfinished business. We have A, Sisson Street vacant property. This was a resolution by myself, and seconded by, I don't recall.
Fowler.
To pick one? Fowler?
Yes.
Okay, and I do have written down what I stated. If you'd like me to pass that on to you. Because it was a very specific resolution that gave us the outline of what it calls for in our rules of order, so that it has the dissolving, the member numbers, all of that, so that we are complete in what we have in there. And I can get that to you.
Okay, any other changes? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from August 15th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 15th.
Support?
Support.
Okay, motion by Edwards, support by Bartholomew. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the changes?
I'll make a motion to approve the agendas with the changes that have been made.
Motion by Edwards.
Support.
Support by Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, any discussion on the bills? Otherwise, can I get a motion to pay the bills?
I do have questions on the bills, please.
Okay,
I don't know, does anybody else? I keep jumping in here.
you have the floor, go ahead.
Okay. Where are we? Check register. Couple, again, I guess I'll start with my typical question here. Credit card, Chase Card Services, $1,809.92. Do we have anything? Did you bring the credit card statement?
I have a copy of it, just your typical office supplies from Amazon. We did have one class that somebody signed up for education. We had some items that for the cemetery, and, excuse me, and we also had, where is it? iChat for Michigan State Police, that's a background check for new employees. And we had, I know it's on here, it was a big one, we got a new scanner, accounts for accounts payables. We have a specific scanner that she requested that we ordered.
Okay, and I see that is on one page.
I said I had a copy of it.
Okay,
This is the copy I use when I reconcile it.
okay. And can we get that in here? There's not time necessary for me to bring this up every month and ask this and take time. And it's one page, so it's not, I'm not asking for extensive research.
Just the one page is sufficient?
If it has everything that is in the credit card statement,
Well, yes.
yes,
And this is, these are my notes when I reconcile it. Yep.
okay.
Are you saying this is every month? Well, I'm only going to be here another month, but is that something you're proposing the council goes over every month?
Yes,
Is that a
Okay.
board vote for a new procedure?
I mean,
or-
but I'm not going to be here, so.
That's up to you guys.
Do you have other questions on the bills?
I do. About halfway down, Aramark,
Aramark, yes.
looked it up, Google, a company that has to do with uniforms
We
of
got new
some sort?
uniforms for the cemetery, and we were in the process of taking care of that with also new floor mats for the building, and some other items, services for the buildings.
Okay. And we don't normally have another contracted service that we are?
We do currently have Cintas, but there has been some frustration with them, and we were looking to change over. That's still in the process,
Okay.
just to review.
Where are we in that contract with Cintas?
I don't have that contract in front of me, so I would have to bring that information to the next meeting.
I would just like to caution, as I did Google it and look it up, it did not have very good marks from people.
Okay.
If we are going to go with another place, maybe look for a place that's a little better.
Okay, duly
Um,
noted. Yep.
And,
Like I said, we're still in the process of seeing what is up.
yeah. So is this with Cintas just all of a sudden happened? What exactly has come up?
I mean, is this a discussion for bills right now to discuss current contractors?
I think
And
that we've answered.
I mean, if you don't want to answer my questions, that's fine.
I didn't say that, please don't put words in my mouth. I'm just stating that I answered your questions, I don't understand where
Okay.
this is going.
Can I have that Cintas contract, or will I need to FOIA that?
Once we're in the office, we can discuss that, yeah.
I'm not coming into the offices, I'm not welcome.
Well, that's not true, because you're in the office, you're in the treasurer's office all the time.
I'm welcome into her office.
Okay. Well, I think this is appropriate discussion for the bills, trying to
Okay,
pay our bills.
you don't have to answer my questions, that's fine.
Well, it's more respect to the board and our meeting.
Yes.
Do you have other questions on the bills, Megan?
I have
That is
one.
it.
As far as the payouts to Creative Asphalt, what'd you have done at the wastewater treatment plant? I'm just looking at some of the billing here.
I'm sorry, for,
I'm sorry, $1,969, Creative Asphalt. Maintenance and repairs. I'm sorry, page 3.
are you talking about the,
Page 3.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
our invoices for distributing,
It's under water.
so that comes out of your budget, correct? Your line item budget?
Right, that's, right, water
And
fund
water's
is
still-
DPW.
Okay, so what work was done at DPW? Do you know, or anybody?
Tim Metz is in here. When those invoices come in, they go to the appropriate departments for the appropriate
I
supervisor
have no
to
idea.
make
Here's a
those
creative asphalt, but it's not-
agreements
The same
and
one he's
approvals for
talking
their
about.
budget.
So you're not aware of what type of work was done, all you do is process the invoice?
Well, they did a street repair, so I'm assuming it was for a water main break, so they had to replace the asphalt wherever the water main break was. I know there was one up on First Street. I
Okay.
don't know, without looking at the invoice, if that was specifically what this covers, but since it's for water, it was for a street repair.
Just want to make sure that we're doing the right billing out of the right line item. So if we had a breakup on one of the streets, that's fine. It's positive billing.
Yep. Is there any other questions on the bills?
Motion to pay the bills?
Support.
Can you call the roll, please?
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Fowler,
No,
Parker,
No.
Poznanski,
Yes.
President Malzahn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2.
Okay, next up on the agenda, you have special presentations. We have nothing tonight. We have correspondence. We also have no correspondence. So next up is public comment. So now would be the time for anybody in the audience that wishes to address this board on either any agenda item or on any item that you wish to address. You are welcome to come to the podium. You have a 3-minute time limit. Please give us your name and your address for the record. First come, first serve. Mr. Ridley, would you like to go up? Thank you.
Okay, my name is Tom Redley. I live at 307 Chandler, and I'm here to make some comments on the catwalk. How many of you here went to the middle school? So you've all walked back and forth on that catwalk. So you've all walked past this plaque. If you're like me, you looked at it once, maybe. You know, it's name of 6 men, older guys, died in a war that happened a long time ago. Even, you know, even in the 70s, it seemed like a long time ago. So I've had a chance to look at these names. This catwalk was donated by Mr. and Mrs. Edward A. Jacob. Let me just let you know who these people are that are on that catwalk. We've got a James McVicker, born in 1914, died in 1943. He was aged 29. Graduated Romeo High School, class of 32, and he's missing in action. He's got a memorial and some plaque in the Philippines. He's just missing, gone. Charles Bradley Jr., born in 1919, died January 17th, 45. He was 25, he's a little bit older. Romeo High School class of 37, and he got married on July 7th of 43 and died in December of 40, a year later. Let's see, got a Robert Mellon, born in 1921, died Christmas Day, 1943, at the age of 22. He was engaged. He's the only one of these 6 buried in the Romeo Cemetery. Got an Ensign McCutcheon, born in 1920, died 1943 at age 23. He went down with his boat. And Arthur Gruel, and born in 21, died at age 23. Romeo High School, class of 38. And Jack Vrillo. He was born in 1918, class of 36, died at the age of 24. I had a long conversation with Mary Roystra. She is the daughter of Mr. Jacobs. She told me a lot about her father. Father was, thought he was going to be a farmer. In high school, he, just on a whim, joined the debate team, became state champion. Went on to college, became an attorney. She thought he was the youngest village president. He started the Peach Festival, as probably most of you know, in 1931. World War II, he is an attorney stationed in Guam. All of you familiar with the USS Indianapolis? It was a good movie with Nicolas Cage. He represented the survivors from the Indianapolis. Just to let you know, Indianapolis delivered the nuclear weapons, completely secret mission. Way home, it sunk. It sank in 5 minutes. 300 men went down immediately. 900 went into the water. 5 days later, when it was rescued, 600 of them had been eaten by sharks. Only 300 left. See the movie. Mr. Jacobs looked into the eyes of these sailors who had watched their shipmates being eaten alive by sharks. When he dedicated this walkway, he was thinking more than just his 6 men. The day I talked to Mary Remstra, again, that's his eldest daughter, she said, now that I understand about the plaque and why he donated that, she said, there's no question in my mind that this needs to be preserved. Strangely enough, the day I spoke with her, I was reading in the paper, and here was this quote. George Eliot, English author, date 1859. Our dead are never dead to us until we've forgotten them. I just want to say at this point, there are several people that I need to thank. We have Dee Hudson. She is the secretary in the maintenance department at the school. Dee was able to locate the plaque and take a photograph of it. Julie Oparka, the former research librarian at the Romeo Community Archives. When I gave her the picture of the plaque, she went, and I have a thick brief of paper there. She did every one of these 6 men as much as she could find, Romeo Observer, whatever. The 2 daughters of Mr. Jacobs, Mary Remstra and her sister Janet, and Mary's daughter, Amy Hoffman. They've all been very, very helpful in getting this done. The only other 2 people would be Todd Robinson and Christine Malzahn. Without their support, this would never have been saved. I just want to thank them.
I did not include that in my president's report, but for anybody as a quick update, because I received the envelope from Mark today, the transfer of deed has been completed, and so the Reenstras, the Jacob heirs, have officially deeded the catwalk back to the village of Romeo. So we will be instituting some repairs. It's still locked right now because it's not safe to exit onto the Memorial Field side. So I have the school grounds superintendent working with DPW Supervisor Tim Metz to go and assess what needs to be done so that we can get that back open and so that all of our residents and students can utilize that walkway to get over to the Memorial Field again. So, yep. Thank you, Tim. You also spearheaded, I know you spent hours on the phone with Mary and her sisters who love to reminisce about Romeo. We do plan to have later in October, and I'll announce the date later, a reinstallation and a rededication of that plaque to rehang it on the catwalk and have a grand reopening. So I don't have a date just yet, but we're trying to coordinate it with the 2 sisters coming from the Lansing area back to Romeo and a nice trip down memory lane. So we'll let you know when that is.
Very
Where
nice.
was the plaque?
It was, had been removed when they took all the memorabilia down from the junior high, and I believe it's in, well, the now former high school, the now junior high.
Okay.
and I believe they've got a display case in there.
Oh, okay.
And, she said it was on the wall in there, in that building.
Great.
Wow.
And they cleaned it up. It looks like new. You know, for those of us who remember, it was so dark you could hardly read it, and it's all cleaned up. It looks very nice.
Bronze plaque there. All right, was there anybody else from the audience that wanted to make public comment? Mr. Tar?
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was great. That was awesome. Thank you. I didn't know any of that. That was good. Also, Elizabeth, thanks for all the work you've been doing. You just happen to be here tonight. I just want to say that publicly. But good evening, Board. My name is Greg Tarr. I wanted to take a moment and introduce myself, and specifically, I've got some questions for Trustee Parker. Have we ever met before, you and I? Have you ever been to my office?
This is public comment, but I will answer, yes, we
Do you
have
know my
met.
family? Do you know my family? My wife?
I don't know if
my
I know your
kids?
family directly, no.
Right. You seem to have a great interest in who I am and what I'm doing down the street. And so I wanted to take tonight and kind of introduce yourself to my family. My wife loves her cottage, loves her family. She's a woman of deep faith. My son's a student scholar at Michigan, plays football there. My daughter's in the Marine Corps. Just recently out, her husband's deployed to Africa to a dark spot there. Their 2-year-old enjoys being a 2-year-old. I'm from Romeo, lived here most of my life, grew up on Pleasant Street, a lot of it, live in Washington Township now. My family and their friends are watching this somewhere around Schembecker Hall and outside the gates of Quantico, Virginia, where my daughter's recently stationed. My 98-year-old mother-in-law passed away a couple weeks ago, and during that time, you had a lot of fun taking pictures of people trying to help me out when I was on the other side of the state. You thought it was cute, you thought it was fun, posting stuff about the trailer in front of my building as they hung a thank you banner for the work Christine did on that sidewalk. It's been very important to me for years. I've owned property down here for a couple of decades, and I've seen a lot of problems with the crosswalks. That was something I asked them to do. Okay, you had fun at other people's expense. It was cruel, it was mean, it wasn't cute at all. Okay? I'm going to ask that if you want to talk to me about anything down at my building or in my business, come in there. I'm there 40 to 60 hours every week, as I have been for over 2 decades. Okay? I would welcome a visit with you about anything you want to talk about, what we're doing down there and what's going on. Spent a lot of time down at the county. I watched your August 4th diatribe up here talking about how you just want to not cause problems, but just want to have, everything in line. Those parking spaces have been set out for months. You found some big interesting thing to scurry a bunch of people, county officials. I'd love to hear when you and I get a chance to talk, what those county officials said when you went and talked to them and took their time to ask questions about where the parking spaces are, okay? We don't need discord sowed. It's not Romeo, it's not who we are as a people here, okay? If there's issues you have, come and talk to me. I'm a constituent. I don't vote for you, but I pay a lot of taxes. I own multiple buildings in the village. If you want to talk to me, if you want to find something out, you stop it and talk to me like a man, okay? Talked in your meeting about the parking that we've created on the back side of the building. Trustee Fowler said you did your homework. Well, if you did your homework, you know those parking spaces, first of all, don't belong to that plat. They have nothing to do with it. I own that building back there. That concrete's been poured going on 2 years, okay? Has nothing to do with it. Your comments as you tried to stir things up about, well, we can't have parking off alleys. It's not good. It's not safe. Just drive up and down an alley somewhere. See how much parking is behind the bank, okay? It's consistent, it's normal, it's reasonable. I don't know what your problem is with that stuff, but again, I'm here 40 to 60 hours a week at my building. Come down and see me. I'd love to talk to you, or I'll walk down and have a visit with you. Either way, we can talk about these things, okay?
Yep, 3 minutes is up.
Yeah, you just relax, okay,
No, you
Mr. Fowler?
relax. 3 minutes is up, she said.
I'll take the time he did, okay?
I'm glad to address
On your
your
note,
time.
I'll rest after
Glad to
this.
address your
But the
time.
state
Just 3
Supreme
minutes
Court
up.
has already addressed
Okay.
your
Your 3
nonsense in
minutes
the
are up.
past. So we'll leave it
He's
at that
trying to
as you
dress
work
down
as
this
Mr.
board.
Parker's
Your
attorney,
3 minutes
okay?
are up.
Okay,
Sit
thank
down.
you.
Can I take 3 minutes and yield it to him?
You can yield your
All right,
3
very
minutes.
good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, let me just go with this, and I appreciate that. When you see that trading is done, not by consent, but by compulsion, when you see that in order to produce, you need to obtain permission from men who produce nothing, when you see that money is flowing to those who deal not in goods but in favors, when you see that men get richer by graft and by pull than by work, and your laws don't protect you against them, but protect them against you. When you see corruption being rewarded and honesty becoming self-sacrifice, you may know that your society, as Ayn Rand talks about, I'll say community, is doomed, okay?
I'm glad you brought up corruption because it gets
Please
rewarded.
don't bully property owners and
administration, it gets
taking down
rewarded. I'm
signs
tired of you just
out of their businesses,
Doing that
okay?
stuff here.
Multiple examples. You and I can talk about it with anybody else who wants to come by and talk about it. I'll be glad to. Don't go in and bully people and tell them to pull their signs down, okay? It's not Romeo. It's not who we are. We're bulldogs. We're not pit bulls, okay? Let's work together. If you want a candidate, we vote for him. If you don't, you don't, okay?
That's correct.
So you know where I am every day. I can continue this conversation with you whenever you want. You and I have never talked about anything before to do with any of this stuff. You've never been around my building with me around, okay, but you, have you? Say it if you have.
Again, public
Just say it
comments.
if you have.
We don't need to get into the discussion of the meeting
Okay,
me,
well,
you, and my
don't look
wife had.
shocked when I
We'll
say
leave it at
something like
that.
it's not true. We have no connection with one another.
We've never met?
I've met you before. I've been in these
We've never met
meetings.
in your office?
You've come by there years ago, but we've never talked
You
about
just said I've never
politics.
met you at your building.
Outside the building to talk about any, don't spin the words, about the stuff I'm here talking about, okay? So please, if you want to find me, come and talk to me. I'm glad to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tar.
Thank you, Greg.
Anybody else from the public that wants to make a comment?
Greg, you forgot your flyer. Hi, Elizabeth Miller, I'm the director for the Downtown Development Authority in Romeo. A little on a lighter note. Just wanted to, we're not on the agenda, and we produced some stuff kind of at the last minute. Some of you may not be aware, but about 3 years ago, Governor Whitmore signed into law the stateside downtown day for Michigan downtown businesses. So much like our, why am I forgetting, the Small Business Saturday that happens on the, like Black Friday weekend, the weekend of Thanksgiving and whatnot. This is another day where we get to celebrate our downtowns, our retail, our dining facilities and whatnot. And so my office has created this flyer. It went out on social media today. These will go up in buildings tomorrow. But join us on this Saturday, September 24th, for Michigan Downtown Day. Our sidewalks, this is new and surprise, our sidewalks are going to be full of music with performances by local artists throughout the day. And it was interesting because as Madison, my assistant, was working on things today, all the different buskers, I did not know what that, does anybody not know what buskers is? I didn't know a month ago, I had no clue what that word, does everybody knows that? It's just me? Okay, so a busker is basically street performers, and they can have their cases open and you can give them donations. We have a few of our buskers who are gonna be donating to Samaritan House. She refuses to take the money herself, and so one of our buskers is a violinist. Her name is Suzanne Rock, and she is gonna be performing in front of MJC Marketplace, and I think she signed up for like 6 hours, and all of her money will be going to Samaritan House. But what's interesting, I find interesting, is as these buskers were calling and signing up, it just all happened to align that we will have musicians nonstop from like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it wasn't even planned, so it's just pretty awesome that happened. So I would like to, Mr. Clark, you can pass this around to each of the trustees. I don't know if I have enough or not. But I hope you all can just come downtown, go grab an ice cream from Romeo Soda Fountain, and listen to the music outside. unfortunately was sick with COVID during Peach Festival. I missed the whole entire thing, but it is what it is. But was fun to see that Romeo Town Hall Soda Fountain posted a video of a saxophonist that was right outside of there, and it just happened organically, and so it was just pretty cool. And in the month of October, so segueing, these just came hot off the press today. In October, we are launching Romeo's first ever Screech Fest, Weekends in Romeo in October. And it includes, we have a sponsor who's going to be running a shuttle bus 6 different days. We'll have the listings out for that later on. Horse-drawn wagon rides for a different part of town, so getting it away from Tilson Street. Trick-or-treating on Main Street as normal. The SERVE program through Romeo High School is going to be doing a scavenger hunt exclusively with downtown businesses, which of course makes me very excited. We're going to have pumpkin carving every Saturday in Marketplace Alley from 10 to 1. Those are sponsored by some businesses. Art and Wine Walk, this is the 7th annual. The Romeo District Library is bringing back another story walk, and this one's called Creepy Carrots. So that'll be a fun story walk that'll be downtown. There's going to be the first ever haunted house directory for the whole village of Romeo. So residents, myself included, although I don't usually decorate for Halloween, not for any other reason other than I just don't get around to it. But if you have a house and you would like your house to be on a directory, which is a virtual directory, and you'll be able to click on the different houses, and they'll be rated on a scale of 1 to 5. So 1 being not scary at all, 5 being, you know, kind of like some Tilson Street scary, right? So people can decide if they want to take their young kids, wherever they want to take them within the village. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of fun inside the village decorating for Halloween, and it's not just on Tilson Street. So it's going to be fun, and we're modeling this after a community in the state of Illinois who's had some big success with doing that. And of course, Terror on Tilson Street as usual. And we are introducing a first ever Witches and Warlock Night, which will be on Friday the 21st. So we'll have 2 fun events in a row. And then also our Monday Club is going to be doing a History and Hauntings one night only storytelling on the wagon rides. And those will be pre-sale ticket only. And I don't have the date on me, but again, Mr. Clark, I don't mean to turn you into my admin here person, but you can pass that around. I have some extras for anybody in the audience who want any of these, but you should be seeing these going up really soon. And we do have our own website. If anybody of you know Jessica Newby, who's the owner of Town Hall Soda Fountain and Romeo and Juliet Chocolates, she is also behind the scenes for our graphics. She does amazing graphic designs, and she does it gratis, and we're so grateful, and she's really excited to be back in the village. So there's romeoscreechfest.com. It's its own website. If you have any questions, call me, 752-1170. Yes, you can text to that number too. So you have any questions?
Good
I
work
could
as
talk for
always.
5 more minutes, but
I
I
know.
won't.
Good work as always.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any
Oh,
other?
did I tell you the chief is really excited about us having some of this stuff?
I know he can hardly contain himself.
I'm sure.
I've never seen him excited before.
I don't know, I can't answer that. Anybody else for public comment right now? All right, hearing none, I'm going to move on to officer reports. Does anybody want to start office reports?
I don't have anything.
Nathan, do you have an officer report?
No.
Megan?
I do have a few things.
Okay.
Let's see. Start off with our trustee talk that myself, along with trustee Fowler, hosted last week. We had a good turnout, about, I would say, maybe 8 people. Good discussion there. Would like to take a moment to say thank you and congratulations to our Romeo Lions and our Parks and Rec Committee for the fabulous job, as always, that they did at Peach Fest, and our DPW and our police, everybody who touched it, helped support it and make it happen. The garbage getting off the streets is just as important as the fair and everything else, so thank you guys. Last week, I attended a planning and zoning training. It's centered on solar energy. This was to go along with my Master Citizen Planner. I need a certain amount of credits by the end of the year to keep that current. I also met with some masons last week regarding the crosswalk project. We can talk about that later when it gets on there. And then I wanted to take a moment to say thank you. We have a DPW worker who has left our department, and I wanted to acknowledge Wayne. He's been with our community for almost 20 years. our DPW, these are the people that work the long hours, do the dirty jobs. They're always there in the middle of the rainstorm to clean up the trees. They are there on a holiday when it's Christmas and the pipe bursts and there's water everywhere, and they come out and fix that instead of being with their family. So I wanted to take the time to acknowledge Wayne and his time in our community and thank him so graciously for that, doing all of this for us.
Trustee Fowler?
No, we're good.
Okay. Trustee Parker?
Yeah, so I had a handful, about 6, 7 residence houses on the northwest section of town reach out. They were concerned. The school district had not been able to fill a crossing guard position that we used to have at Hollister. And I'd just like to let them know if they're listening. If not, I can try to reach out to most of them. But if anyone hadn't reached out, I talked to Todd Robinson. He's going to be able to be providing a bus into that area for the students so that they can get to Amanda Moore. So if I haven't heard from you, reach out to Todd or the transportation department, and they can make sure that you get a stop located in that area so you kids don't have to cross the main road. On that, Catherine, I'd like to thank you for the updated ordinance book. I did notice that I think I've got through like 534. I think we're up to like almost 560 now with ordinance-wise. Is that something that we can get or at least get updated onto the website?
Yes, that's in motion right now, yes.
Okay, all right, because that's kind of what I've been looking for is bring everything up to date. And I think the last one I got still is put in like from like 2017 or 2018.
Should be 2020.
That was, okay, I think maybe that's when it went in.
Well, that was, yes, so we have
Okay.
updates since then in progress.
So is that something that we normally just, on a normal cycle, or is it, do we just wait till we get so many and then send them in? I guess it's just
Trying to get back
difficult
on-
when we've got a lot of new
Right.
ordinances and they're not available for anyone to see.
Yes. It would be, they had a change of ownership in the company, and yes, we were getting back on track with that.
So do we normally send them in after each one, or how does that work? Or do we need to have some?
Typically been a batch, as you see with the updates, some of them are in batches, yes.
Okay. All right, and then there's the final update. Again, I've got no update or verification of the funds that people have been asking about for the Friends of the Village Park, and that's all I've got on that.
Trustee Hart?
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is the one thing I wanted to address. At the last meeting, we spent about a half hour on that conversation with the park and with Ruth Heidelbright. I don't know if people have been paying attention, but since it began and the money was first given by the foundation from Ford and went to Ruth, it was a question. There's been a couple occasions that Ruth had, and I'm not sure what it cost, but paid to have her attorney come to the meetings and explain the process of putting together the nonprofit. Last month, you heard President Malzahn speak to how she had she had 24 hours to receive the funds to find it. The third option that she came up was with Ruth, who was very excited about doing it. And I am floored that all this has been happening, because they're talking about giving it to a friend or this type of thing with Ruth. Ruth gave $50,000 to that fund. It wasn't $5,000, it wasn't $10,000, it was $50,000. It matched the first part that came from Ford. So Ford had given $70,000 in rough numbers. Ruth gave $50,000. Ruth also is funding the cost to set up this, and she wants to go beyond doing this park. She wants to do all the parks. So every month this is coming. The majority of the board has been fine and has been comfortable, and thanked Ruth for doing that. I ended up asking Christine, can I get a copy? Can you ask Ruth if I can have a copy of the things? Ruth went through exactly what was in the account. There was the initial $120,000, which Trustee Parker had seen. I don't think he saw it quite as soon as he wanted to, but that $120,000. Then there was a reduction of about $3,000 that paid for the plans that are put together in the village. On top of that, it's been about $2 a month that's been the fee that's been in there. And with the funds, although there was even questions given to the Ford Foundation, which we were worried might jeopardize the Ford wanting to fund anything else. They don't want to have controversy or anything else. They've given the village another $30,000. So they have the confidence. They have the confidence in the nonprofit that they've given. And to date, there's $146,978, of which Ford had given about $100,000. So that's what's in the account. And I don't know why anybody would do anything besides thank Ruth for what she has done. So I hope that answers some questions, puts it to bed. The board has been going through this over and over. You'd say, well, why didn't you do it at first? She did offer the information. There's been a lot of animosity on the board. And personally, there isn't a self-appointed oversight committee of Justin Parker on that fund. You know, that's just how he feels about it. The board didn't have agreement with that, and she doesn't have to answer to that. She doesn't, you know, she's been treated pretty crappy by some members of this board, and I don't blame her. So anyway, just wanted to clarify that there's about $150,000 in there, and we're getting ready to do something with the park, so.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Treasurer Maddox, did you want to give your report?
It's been a long haul, but I finished tax season, and as of today, at the end of the day, I have receipted 1,467 payments, consisting of total collected $2,551,871.76. It's been exhausting. And I'm just waiting sure that everything posts properly. In that regards, over the next several weeks, I will be balancing tax with each of the 3 municipalities. And out of the delinquency, there are 146 payments consisting of just 197,000. So just give you a FYI on that. And I had a discussion with Danielle, the accountant, and she agreed with me on, after a discussion that President Malzahn and I had on August 9th about training Caroline for the next treasurer position. And Carolyn is in the office, so I welcome her to just, what I'm trying to do is just make it an easy transition. So therefore, she's processed utility billing, and there'll be a next utility billing process that will be coming up. And because I don't have any funds in the budget, Danielle agreed with me that that would just come out of the general operating office funds, and then have Caroline immediately begin water billing process. So that way then she has the ability to get hands-on. I'll be oversight because I'm going to be balancing tax. And then come next year, I would put in for a recommendation to have the BSNA trainer come right to the office and give her the hands-on training for the 23 tax, because it's easier just from the start to the finish, and they're great on support in that regards. So I know that Christine and I had a conversation, and with you being out of the office, I just wanted to give you my my insight on what I would think would be the best option to move forward. And then just, I would imagine that would be for all the positions in the village office, that during that period of time, that would work out for the 2 different positions. Let's see here. Last Tuesday, September 13th at 8:53, I sent an email to the clerk indicating that I wanted to put on the agenda an updated credit card policy for the village board members to approve at this meeting. I immediately received a response from Clerk Trapp at 8:57 a.m., and she indicated to me that we already had a credit card policy established for the village, and to please advise her of who the author of this policy and what trustee is bringing it forward. Well, this is, I responded, this is an updated credit card policy that I'm requesting. And the reason on it is that as I was going through and trying to get my office organized, I came upon an audit 2 years ago, and there has been some discussion with other treasurers and other municipalities asking for credit card policy. So when I went out into the village database, I was able to obtain the credit card policy, but I was confused about it. And so therefore I requested from Clerk Trapp to send me the most recent updated credit card policy, which I did not get. But the one that's posted talks about township, and I wasn't sure. So I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to bring it forth to the board, because I do have some concerns about the credit card. Since both clerk and president took office in November 20th, 2018, they both have had control of the credit cards. One credit card is with PNC. There is another one with Chase Bank. Now, both of them have had access to this, and according to the credit card policies that I have viewed, and ones that were recommended by a 2020 audit, stated that the credit card purchases need to be reviewed by someone other than the person that's utilizing the credit card. And so if we have two people that have access to the credit card and they're not submitting the documents for approval, you have no oversight and control. And the reason, my background is in banking. I worked in the bank for over 26 years. So therefore, all we want to do is prevent, as my responsibility is a fiduciary responsibility on the oversight of the village assets. And this policy that I requested to put forth on the agenda that was not requested, or the request was not followed up with, put on the agenda. The board is responsible for reviewing and approving this policy and all charges that are set forth. This way then, it prevents any issues from arising, and it just prevents fraud. And according to all the accounting procedure manuals, and one that I have right here, which I can just flash up, it just basically, it's just an outline. It just says follow the money. And if we follow the money that states what uniform charts of accounts are, then it avoids any fraud or exposure to the village office and to the employees that are responsible for adhering to the policies. So my request is to you, after having a conversation with both bankers, is the board to make approval to allow me to be able to have view access to the two credit cards.
So you're saying allow you to be the overseer of the two cards if they're using them, the president and the clerk, and you can actually do your
Correct.
checks and balance?
And then the statement comes to the board with whatever supporting documentation.
So it would come on our monthly,
Correct.
okay, makes sense.
Would that require an ordinance change, Mark?
It does not. It's a policy that you have, how you administer your office and your finances. You can do it by policy. It does not require an ordinance. I don't think there's a credit card policy in your ordinances now, and you're not required to create one.
So how come we didn't want to put this in place? And if she requested our clerk, what was the reasons for not doing it?
Catherine
Catherine.
forwarded to me. I was CC'd on the email from Sherry, and I apologize, Sherry. I was out last week ill, as you know, with COVID. Catherine was out the week before, as several of our office staff was. I had not had an opportunity to review that, to discuss that with Mark, to look at the old one, to really get it put on the agenda to be on board packets for Wednesday. I saw no immediate need to try and do that for this meeting tonight, when we can absolutely put it on October's, and everybody would have an opportunity to really do the due diligence that's necessary.
So you're not trashing it, you're still looking at it to present it to us?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yep.
and I would concur with you in that regards, because after, I had the discussion with the bankers after I submitted that packet to you, and there was a concern that came up because one of the credit cards is a point, it's a point Visa, and so I have to do a little research about how points can be utilized if they're redeemed, and I wasn't able to research on that, so that brings valid point, because if there were points redeemed and they were used for, that would be an issue.
Okay. Are you done with your report then?
And does anyone have any questions for me? Yes?
How long have the credit cards been in place?
Initially, because I do not have access for viewing purposes, when we came into office, November 20th, 2018, it's been in
They were in
possession.
place so for the last over 4 years.
I'm not, yeah, I'm not sure if there was,
For the last 4 years. So there's never been any issue about having a policy prior to that, apparently, right?
No, there is a
And now,
policy.
now we're bringing it up to discuss that.
There has been issues with spending and accounting.
There has?
Not showing up on our monthly bill report, so there has been those issues. She has provided any information at a later date.
Issues or questions? Problems or just questions about what's come up? I'm just wondering if there's been some perception of malfeasance here.
There's been accusations of malfeasance on several occasions, but there has never been an instance where there has been any fraud or charges that should been not made. Any inappropriate actions have never been an issue.
Do you have an example?
In the last 4 years, my understanding, since this is my first time here to see this, but we're talking about it now, but over the last 4 years, there hasn't been anything that's been brought to.
And we do have.
yes, I have copies of emails where I've communicated and asked verbally. I also have, Chase Banker was in the office on several occasions stating that he could give the clerk oversight and adding me as a view option access. I'm ready to close out my books. I need to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence. And I don't want anything coming back on me because I didn't bring it forth to the residents. And I've been trying for the last 4 years to have view access, and this has been brought up by other board members and questions pertaining to. So it's a check and balance. It's a very simple process. And for me as a treasurer, not to have the ability to have view access, that's a red flag. So, thank you.
Although I do believe that you see the checks and all of the receipts every month when you sign the check that pays that bill.
Okay, but then also.
But you do, right, you do see it.
You also have
Yes.
the clerk paying the bill online using the bank account. She's bypassing anyone when the online bill payment is made.
But you
Yes,
have
I mean, I
accuracy
know there's really
statements.
much question. I mean, she's just looking for more oversight to protect everyone and the village. I don't see why that's,
The word is transparency, eh?
thank you.
Yeah, we know she runs.
Transparency sounds great.
Do you have a clerk's report?
I do have a
We're gonna
clerk's
move on.
report.
Yep.
The cemetery board has met a few times recently to discuss the upcoming project of redoing the roads at the cemetery. The board has also met with engineering firm Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick to put together the engineering specs for the bid packet. The cemetery board is hoping to have that information soon to go out for bid. Last Thursday on September 15th, I attended the SEMCOG Transportation Coordinating Council meeting. I have recently been elected as one of 2 delegates that represent cities and villages throughout southeastern Michigan. There were a few presentations on road projects that are in motion, along with new projects that involve electronic vehicles and charging stations that are in the planning stages. And also, I wanted to say thank you to the Romeo Lions. Over Labor Day weekend, I had a pleasure to once again volunteer with the Romeo Lions. Great to see so many people come enjoy the weekend in the village of Romeo. That is my report.
Perfect. All right, let me go into my president's report, and then we can move on to our unfinished business. Did you catch the pedestrian crosswalk ribbon cutting projects? The ceremony was held right on Main Street to celebrate this high achievement. It was a great opportunity to have County Executive Mark Hackle on hand with me to talk about how the project came to fruition, a few of the challenges we encountered along the way, and to congratulate Romeo on the significant investment in our community. I heard over and over during the Labor Day weekend, people comment on how beautiful they look and how much easier it is to walk around town. A big thank you to Trustee Hart, Bartholomew, and Edwards for supporting this project from the beginning and helping me get it implemented. You can all watch the interviews and the festivities on the MIT TV if you missed it. Thank you to Dr. Todd Robinson for the invitation and the opportunity to join the RCS Welcome Back Luncheon on August 23rd. In Dr. Robinson's own words, he says, "Sometimes it's best to let other people speak from their hearts because they mirror our own." It was a very heartfelt day, and several guest speakers came together to talk about our experiences. We shared our love and respect to one another and to honor those who teach, care, and nurture our children. If you have an opportunity to thank a teacher, to thank a bus driver, to thank an administrative staff, please do so. It will go so far in helping them feel appreciated for the very hard work that they do. Congratulations to Sean Earl of Romeo Gold Studios on September 1st for his grand opening celebration and ribbon cutting by the Romeo Washington Chamber of Commerce. It was my pleasure to attend and recognize Sean as our very own Romeo rock star. The Romeo Gold Studio space located in the Woodland Shopping Center is state-of-the-art and beautiful. What a wonderful addition to Romeo's fine arts education and mentorship opportunities, and I wish Sean and his staff much success. I hope you enjoyed everything peachy over Labor Day holiday weekend. Thank you to the many volunteers, sponsors, Parks and Rec, Romeo Lions, for putting on such a safe and welcoming weekend of activities. I hope you caught Live in the D and other Romeo live coverage from WDIV and MIT TV showcasing all the fun going on around town. Thank you, too, to our Chamber of Commerce for organizing the Children's Parade. Clerk Trapp, Caroline Miller, Madison Roush, and I donned our best Disney characters. We joined in the fun in passing out candy and other goodies to all the smiling children and adults lining the parade route. Kudos to our police, fire, and DPW for keeping us safe and tidy. Here's a quick update on the Village Park. The Friends 501c3 held an in-person meeting on September 15th and have approved their contractor, Jason Arnott, from Earth Environments to begin work. Jason is present here tonight. The village has issued the necessary permits, and construction is set to begin at the end of September on the demo and infrastructure work. It was also agreed upon after many hours of planning, gathering input from our residents and the Romeo Lions representatives, that the beloved gazebo will be returning to Lions Field. Pending a safe journey to their Washington Street entrance, it's slated to become their new ticket booth or information booth as a focal point to their entryway. They are happy to restore and repurpose this iconic Romeo structure. Final plans and designs for the new park gazebo/amphitheater are underway and should be submitted to the Planning Commission for review soon, with that construction planned for next spring. I report good news on the F5G lawsuit versus Romeo. After Clerk Trapp and I met with our legal team, they were able to successfully convince their plaintiff's attorney to dismiss this case very early and without a need to file a motion to dismiss and/or for summary disposition. We have received a stipulated order for dismissal without prejudice and consider this and all other legal matters regarding our marijuana business licenses closed. Mark your calendars for these upcoming events. The tree board. Who has questions about the health of their trees, how to trim them and how to care for them? If you do, join the Romeo Tree Board tomorrow evening, September 20th at 6:30 at the Kezar Library. Then they'll progress over to Village Park, meet the MSU tree biologist and a Michigan DNR urban forestry expert who will be on hands and available to answer your questions and provide instructions on real trees downtown and how to identify disease and those that just need a little bit of care and nurturing. Don't miss Romeo's Homecoming Parade on September 28th at 6 p.m. The parade starts at the Romeo Lions Club and heads north on Main Street. We look forward to seeing everyone cheering on our Bulldogs. As always, my number one priority is to serve our residents and our beautiful community. When important issues arise, please know I will always make time for you to discuss your concerns. Our office strives to achieve complete transparency, and every single staff member and I will always do our very best to assist you. Do not hesitate to reach out to us. That concludes my report for this month. Okay, we have up next committee reports. Nothing to report other than to say I have no communication back from Bruce Township
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
on the documentation that we sent over there on the contract. So moving on to unfinished business, we have our,
Was there anything with the sidewalks? Have we started that this year?
We can talk sidewalks.
Okay. I know it wasn't on there. I should have added it at the beginning, but I know.
just
Yeah,
a
we-
sidewalk update? Oh,
We did, we finished Prospect, that was a few months ago. We had actually, I mean, how many times do we redo our downtown crosswalks? And we had scheduled some work for August, which I did not want to have 32 tied up with the already ongoing construction we had with dump trucks, et cetera, et cetera. So he's going to try to get in on this, in October, and he's been really busy, he said, and, but he is going to try to give us the second week in October to continue doing the ones that are marked. So we're not looking to go out marking anymore at this time. We just want to finish the season out with what we have marked and what the letters have been sent out.
Okay. I know originally you said, I think we're going to try to hit South Main. Is that not going to happen this year?
those are the ones that are marked. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Church-
ones that are marked.
Church and South Main.
Okay. Right. And then, I don't know if that ties into the crosswalk or the continuation of the sidewalk.
Different
Oh.
contractor.
Okay, is that
Different
still,
contractor.
do we have an update on that?
Other than HRC is hoping to get me the bid books tomorrow or
Okay.
Wednesday. I reached
Perfect.
out to him today, but I don't have them as of yet. So he said that they were still getting some insurance documents in line.
Perfect.
So should be coming about.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our Church Street parking lot. Just a quick bit of background. The previously awarded bid for the construction of the Church Street parking lot to Superior Contracting Group in the amount of $149,545 failed to result in an executed construction documents. Village Council authorized Hubble, Roth, and Clark to revise the bid package and have Clerk Trapp post on the mitten at our August meeting. The revised packet was posted by Clerk Trapp and resulted in 8 submissions within the allotted timeframe. Audia Concrete submitted a bid, $280,468. Best Asphalt, $246,507. Birmingham Seal Coat in the amount of $245,151. Earthcon Excavating, $146,124. HMC LLV, $218,109. The JISI Group at $241,360. Telto Contracting, $217,240. And lastly, Warren Contractors and Development at $199,821.70. So you have before you, in your packet, the bid tabulation sheet. I gave you at your table, Hubble, Ross, and Clark's recommendation to award the bid based on the recommendation on the action item sheet to Earthcon, the lowest bidder, in the amount of $146,124.
I'll second that.
Wait, do you want to make that motion?
Oh, I just figured you were reading it here, so I was just adding to it.
Okay, so we're going to make a motion by Fowler. Do we have support?
Support.
Support by Parker. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I know last time, obviously, we went with the lowest bid, and they kind of backed out on the process. I mean, do we have any out built into this one, where I know we had a little bit of discussion on the proper way to back out of the last one?
Tim Metz wished that he was here tonight. He said to convey to you that Earthcon Excavating has worked with the village for numerous years. They are our emergency contractor, and he feels extremely confident and comfortable awarding this bid to them.
Good, yeah, I mean, I know the company, I would
Yep.
agree. I just want to make sure we're protecting
Yep.
ourselves.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call. Fowler?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
President Melzon.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
And just so that I understand correctly, this actually comes in under what the first contractor was supposed to do it for, is that correct?
That's correct, by about
Awesome.
$5,000. Yep. Okay, moving on to the wastewater treatment plant gearbox. Just a bit of background while Al makes his way up. Wastewater treatment plant supervisor Al Lapierre reported that the Winsmith reducer equipment that was approved for purchase last month in the amount of $9,757.42 was not the correct gearbox for the necessary repair. He is requesting approval of a different gearbox assembly, which is part number W3T16105, with the installation by Titus Welding Company in the amount of $14,300, which was approved last month's meeting. That stays the same. Al, take it away.
Last month, after I approved the contract, I sent it back to them. A day or two later, they got back with me and apologized a lot for what they did. They owned it, they said that they messed up, but it was the wrong gearbox. The right gearbox with delivery charges would be $26,640.63. Now, to be fair, when I saw that box was $9,700, I thought, wow, we caught a break. Well, we didn't. So that is the price for the right box. Like I said, they apologized for it, but it is what it is.
Any other discussion or questions?
We do have the money for it, but
I'll make a motion that we go through with the purchase of this box.
I'll second.
That's in the amount of
Yeah, I was gonna say the amount of
$26,640.63.
yes.
Okay,
Because
so we,
the installation price was approved last month, correct?
yes.
it'll stay the same.
Got it.
So the 26, is that the total, or is
No.
that?
That's the total
That's the new part.
with delivery is $26,640.
Then it's another 14 on top of that to install.
Correct.
Yes, that's for the installation.
So we had a motion by Bartholomew. Did you support that, Justin?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
President Melzan,
Yes?
Fowler.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thanks, Al.
We have added item unfinished business 9C, the Citizen Task Force.
Yes, could we just go over what are the next steps? And why, again, could you go over why it wasn't on this month's agenda?
Well, I was out of the office sick. There was also some other residents who were out sick that were working on gathering the names and the volunteers. It's not just necessarily about the residents who live in that area. I wanted to make sure that we had residents from across the community, if possible, so that they can focus on all of our parks, not just the one that's in their backyard. So while I work on that with them, Connie reached out to her. She was out of town, a death in her family, and unable to attend tonight. And I said, look, this isn't that pressing. We can absolutely put this off tabled until October meeting. Again, we're not under any time frame to do that. I did confirm with Mark that there was no need to actually have a resolution to dedicate that as a village park. We can simply just assign the Citizen Task Force, as you acknowledged last month, and I plan to bring that back in October with those nominations.
Fabulous. Thank you for the update. Now, have we received any interest so far?
I have several.
Okay.
Yep, and I've talked to several people.
And will we get all of those letters and all the letters of interest and anything?
I would think so. I don't know that I have letters coming from the list. Some of those names are coming from Connie. I don't know if they have submitted names to her or not, but I'll get you everything that we can.
Yeah, requesting letters of interest would be helpful.
Any other discussion on that item? No board action necessary, so we can move on to the pedestrian crosswalk.
Yes, we all received an email for information from President Malzahn regarding the crosswalk. While it is great, grand, and wonderful, and everything is taken care of, there did happen to be an issue. Mistakes happen, things come up. That's fine. We are going to address it. I asked that President Malzahn have someone from the firm here to go over it with us and to give us our possible options. Instead, we got an invitation to look at the crosswalks this morning at 9 o'clock. I was unable to make it. I work Mondays at 9 to 3. Was anybody else able to make it?
We had several in attendance with the engineer and the contractor.
Okay. Did we have a quorum?
We did not have a quorum.
Okay. Well, that's good, because
No,
assigning
but
a
I would
meeting.
say briefly we did. I had a hearing appointment, and I wanted to hear what the contractor, so I did go over there. I listened to what the contractor had to say and what they did, and then I left, because then it kind of realizing that it was a quorum. So nothing was discussed other than me getting information. So briefly, in that,
You are correct.
there would have been a quorum.
Yeah, Clear Open Meetings Violation Act.
Yep.
You can laugh all you want, but these are the rules. I couldn't make it. That's why I wasn't there, but I'm glad I didn't go because I don't want to be a part of a violation. Could you briefly go over what happened?
We did a walkthrough. We looked at the area outside of the Masonic Temple. We put a bike in the bike rack. We took some measurements. We took some photographs of where the bike lined up with the other things that are installed on the sidewalk, and the sight line is absolutely not encroaching on their walkway or the open sidewalk between there. We also looked at several other areas of the project that were on the punch list that needed to be addressed. So we just reviewed each one of those. We walked around, looked at the concrete work behind the chamber building, which has been taken care of. We obviously walked down to Washington Street because there was some concerns about some ponding. The contractor is coming back to make some repairs to that area. We noted some cleanup work that still needs to be done on the corner of Bailey and St. Clair. And I think those were.
Well, tell them who was there. Paul Mayer was there, the engineer. It wasn't just, yeah.
Yes.
And then the contractor from Warren.
The general contractor.
For the general contractor. So they were, yeah.
And then they were gonna fill in those cracks too in the.
Yes.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
So it was-
Yes, Elizabeth Miller was there as well, yeah, walking around
It
with
was
us.
really good informational. and,
Yeah, so I'm working with Paul again to make sure that the punch list of things that needed to be repaired or fixed, what were being done before we do the final closeout of the project. We know that we still are going to work towards a better solution. I engaged, as did Elizabeth, the Masonic Temple, who had some concerns about the bike rack out there. We asked them for some feedback and some input. I think Elizabeth may be able to update that if you would like. Sure, yeah, go ahead. And then we're going to look at a solution, what's going to be the best option that we have for that area.
If I could just throw one more thing in, it was kind of nice having that heavy rain last night because we were able to see that there was no puddling on all the work that they did. So that was
Yeah.
really cool. how they-
Any ponding was very visible.
Right, right.
Yeah, so as some of you may or may not know, kind of the behind the scenes of this whole project, I came on board just under a year ago. This was already well underway. This had already been approved and whatnot from the DDA level as a cost share along with the village. For those of you who may not know, the total cost of this project is an astounding cost of over $600,000. So before you all get sticker shock on that one, keep in mind that there was infrastructure stuff that was done in addition to just the crosswalks. The top coat is sort of like when you paint a room, like it's all, when you finally fix all the holes and you fix your electricity and you fix the plumbing and you fix everything else, you don't see all that. All you see is the pretty stuff on top of it. But the sewer drains that were fixed, the ADA compliancy that was fixed, you know, unbeknownst to any of us, a really cool after, and I know this is a tangent, I go on them a lot, but as a side benefit to all of this, we ended up with larger sidewalk spaces for this new busking thing that has just been initiated by one of our volunteers and residents in our community. So that was just an added benefit that we didn't even realize would be there until later on. So while that cost was astronomical, right, as County Executive Mark Hackle pointed out during our ribbon cutting ceremony, 20% of that is being financed only by the Village of Romeo. And keep in mind, that's also being cost shared by the DDA. $90,000 of that is coming out of our budget. And those of you who know what size budget we have, it's really tiny. And so the fact that, that President Malzahn, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you are on, who you're voting for in November, doesn't matter. The fact is that project happened because she went out and said, Is there money in SIMCOG? County, can you help us make this thing happen? So it isn't just pretty little sidewalks going across the street that are red with white stripes on them with signs that say pedestrians crossing here. It is much bigger than that. And the fact that we only paid 20% of that, co-funded, again, by the DDA, is a huge thing. And so it solved a lot of other issues, not just the pretty crosswalks. By the way, I'm very pleased that so many people are stopping. I'm a resident, I live 3 blocks from downtown, and I keep seeing people stop all the time for people, even before we get the flashy lights. So I guess back to what you asked me, it came up as a solution. There was that step, right, this large step, and our Paulo Mira was very apologetic that neither Christine nor I were notified that there was this 9-inch step at the highest point.
11. but
11,
who's
sorry,
counting?
thank you,
Who's
okay.
counting, right?
Well,
Yeah.
see, I'm wrong on that too. There was this 11-inch step, but that big trip hazard, right? And then, to Christine's credit, again, doesn't matter who you're voting for. Let's just give credit where credit is due for what it's worth, for goodness sakes, right? So recognize, okay, well, is there a solution that could be, what if we just stick a temporary piece of metal there? Happened to be a bike rack that was in the village park that was about to be taken out because of the park renovation and whatnot, and put in there. We did some measurements with a bike. Christine brought hers. We grabbed a couple other people. What does this work? How does this work and whatnot? Gave a courtesy call to Kevin Cousineau, who's with the Masons, and then I followed up with an email. So I've got all those emails here just to say, hey, here's what we're looking at doing. Just wanted to let you know because it's right in front of your building. Again, as a courtesy, it is village property. The sidewalk's village property. When we do the rest of it, every single business isn't being asked permission. Hey, do you mind if we do this stuff on the sidewalk that you don't own? No, it was a courtesy. And so we let them know that it was a temporary solution, looking at a more permanent situation. As you all know, costs of materials have gone up in every sector, right? So we don't even know when we could get, unless you wanted those UE-shaped boring bike racks, right? We want to get something that would be nice, fitting for Romeo. Many people have said we want to see some more ironwork in downtown that's fitting of some of the other alleyways and whatnot, keeping with the historic character of what some of that has been done. I'm sure Jason could you probably could give me some great referrals for some iron people who could make some for me. Remind me to call you tomorrow. So this, again, it's a temporary solution, right? And then, again, sort of like those busking spaces, we looked at it and went, well, okay, well, so we've got a larger curb in front of that space next to that beautiful new flower box that Landscape Direct helped me pick out all those beautiful plants that are inside of there. That has been well taken care of by our contractor. And we looked at that and went, okay, well, actually, you could put bikes on both sides of this. We measured it out, talked to the Masons and whatnot, contacted my DDA board members have been, Greg can speak to that, Megan, you can speak to that, Christine, you can speak to that as you're all on my board, that you have been abreast of this the whole entire time. For informational purposes only, it has not been a concern at the DDA level. But again, this problem, we don't have to solve this exactly. What we do need to figure out is, what solution do we want to come up with? Do we want them to redo the cement in those spaces? Or do we see this as, okay, well, lemon's lemonade. We could make a great space here, whether it be a bike rack, whether it be a bike rack, whether it be a wayfinding sign that could be spaced, put in the same space. Those are things we can do. I only have so many hours during the week, so that's going to take a little bit of time to figure that out. Our bike season, it is only September, but people aren't going to be riding their bikes probably 2-3 months from now, right? So we have a little bit of time, plus again, because things are back ordered and whatnot, we wouldn't be finding a solution until next spring most likely. But what we can do in the meantime is we can find out what we can get back from, whether it be our contractor, whether it be Row Engineering, whoever, as a compensation if we decide to keep it at that level. When we were there, and Christine can attest to that, as can Nate and Matt, yeah, you were there as well. If you grade that from the bottom step of the Mason steps, grade it down, it will be a detriment. It will not be a good, it would be
not to code at all.
18% pitch.
18 was on the other side, correct? But that side would be greater than 80.
Worth to be 30+%.
Yeah, so not the best situation. So really, our options are they can change that sidewalk right in front of that space, or we can figure out a way to make lemonades. And Romeo people are really good at doing that. The other thing I'd like to just point out is that, just as doing a little bit of research between the Board of Trustees meeting, which is you all, since the crosswalk project came up in August of 2020, there's been 8 board meetings with board action regarding the crosswalk project. There's been the 7 additional president updates. From the DDA level, since January 21, there's been 8 board meetings with board action, and there's been 9 director updates, most of which are mine, is speaking with the crosswalk, regarding the crosswalk project. At no point was there ever any concern regarding the planter that is in front of the Masonic Lodge from any Mason. Is anyone else on here? Justin, I know you're a Mason, correct? Is anyone else on the board a Mason? Anybody else is not a Mason? Anybody else's spouse? Anybody who should recuse themselves of anything because of that? Okay, so I guess my concern or my question is, because we've put so much time and effort and energy into this, and the funds that we've reached, and the transparency that has been evident everywhere, I'm not aware of any Mason, even you on the board, I don't see any board minutes saying either recusing yourself of a board action because of objection from any Mason, or I don't have any knowledge of anybody within the Masons who are concerned about the flower box, the planter out front, or any type of the cement work out front. This process has been above and beyond transparent. I mean, there's just document after document making this happen. It's been on the DDA website, it's been online, it's been on the, it's been on the village website and so forth. So, we include them. We want to continue that conversation. What I would ask is that you do not make. I would request that a reactionary decision isn't made just to appease a couple people who aren't here. I was told that the higher levels of the Masons didn't like all of that, but on numerous questions, numerous correspondence asking who specifically, not just the proverbial they, I'm not getting a response. And so that's concerning to me, because if I have a neighbor who says, well, so-and-so, I heard so-and-so said such and such. Well, who? Well, I can't tell you. Well, the credibility, if you can't put your name behind your compliment or your complaint, I am a little concerned about the validity of that complaint. Interesting, again, yes, I am going to talk about lemonade once again. Thursday, I got an email from one of our businesses in town who is upstairs from Paramount Roofing. Her name is, and I have permission to read this. Her name is Deborah McLeod. She's the president of EM Logics down there, and it was very ironic, the timing. I would like to request a bike rack in front of Paramount Roofing. My company rents the entire second floor of the building, which is on the corner of Main and St. Clair. We like to ride our bikes to work for exercise in the tough parking situation, but it's tough to find somewhere to leave them so no one falls over them, etc. I've been chaining them to the ironwork arch in the alley, but I feel guilty because I know that's not what it is meant to be used for. I see a few racks around town and wonder if our corner could get one. Thank you for your time and your consideration. So what I would like to do as the DDA director, and we'll see what happens, whether my board, 3 of you are here tonight, but whether you approve it or not, but what I would like to do is I'd like to reach out to the community. And I was just up in Marquette, 2 of my kids live up there. They have bike racks that are in the shape of bikes, right? There's, I was driving through Munising, they have the same thing. Then you see there's some Art Deco bike racks in Alpena. There's a lot of different options out there. Maybe we want ones that shape like peach. I don't know. Maybe we want ones that are shaped like a building. Maybe we want them to look similar to the ironworks that are around Starkweather Alley and Parker Alley. So I think to put a pause to try to, I would just encourage us to, or you, because I don't have a vote, to not be reactionary, to come up with a quick decision, because taking, like, say, the Starkweather Arch and just moving that over there, that's not what that was designed to do. And if you slap something up, it's going to look reactionary. And
we're not reactionary. We think things through. We want them to be beautiful for future generations, not because we're trying to appease a couple people who aren't present and who don't put their name. And then, of course, you all know I like my maps. If it were to stay a bike rack, you know, these little stickers, we don't have any bike racks on Main Street. Do you all realize that? None. And we have the Macomb Orchard Trail right down the way. Greg Tarr, one of my board members at the last board meeting, kind of said, hey, can we look at trying to connect the trail to downtown? So let's figure out how to not just make a glass of lemonade, let's make a pitcher.
Amen.
And let me help you.
I'm with you.
So, do you have any questions for me on that? I know that was a really long diatribe, but it is what it is.
No, I thank you so much. I mean, all of this information is all that we're asking for. Some clarity, transparency. I love it. Thank you. And I do agree with you, Elizabeth. We don't need to make a decision right now, but we do need to make a decision. And I think it was a great idea to put that out there temporarily. Worked great for the Peach Fest. But in talking with some of the business owners, it's not what they would like permanently. And I understand what you're saying, that this has been talked about, we've hashed out, this has been a project ongoing. But whether or not the people paid attention doesn't mean that they don't have a voice now. And that the people that aren't here and have gone unnamed, I represent those people, as we all. So they should be taken into consideration, as it is their front doorstep and their tax dollars also. So I do appreciate that you point out that this has been talked about a lot, but we still need to take them into consideration. So I would like us to definitely look at all of the options. I do not believe a bike rack this is the best spot for it. Other places around town, let's look into it. If people are calling for it, then let's answer the call. I completely agree. My concern with the bike rack here, I did also take my bike there, I took a stroller there, I did take a measuring tape to measure what a wheelchair width would be. And could it squeeze by? I had a general typical bike. Absolutely. I even had a resident walk by. I go, what do you think? She said, oh, yeah, because I laid out the measuring tape. Oh, here's a few inches on each side, absolutely. But then I got to thinking that what would happen, granted, that is the public sidewalk that we would be putting this bike rack on. But what would happen if all of a sudden the Masons decided they wanted to enclose their front patio, much like Office Pub or your Kobe? Then you could not get through. So that is just something that we might take into consideration with this also. And then the other part was sticking the bike in on the other side, on the street side. Currently how the bike rack is set up, it's very awkward to put it at such an angle. But if we brought it down, now you're impeding and you really cannot walk by, let alone get a stroller. So it kind of has to be set up. So using it from both sides really isn't going to be conducive in that spot either. So I agree, we should continue to look at this, see what else we can come up with, but for the time being, this is what's there, and I think it's a great temporary fix.
Thank you. And, it's, in measuring it, especially with having the engineers there, the contractor there, there was from the end of a bike to the bottom step was 5.5 feet. And the photos, we took a few photos, and the back of the bike tire, and it's on my iPhone, so, but the back of the tire actually lines up. The benches, the park benches, are actually set farther, closer to the buildings, like right in front of RJD Gallery, is closer than where a back tire would be. There's 5.5 feet, and by code, it has to be 5 feet. So there's actually extra space there. And so, I mean,
On the
conversely,
building
to your
side.
point, what's that?
On the building side?
Yeah, on the building side. So conversely, the same thing, like what you said, yes, if they can close their patio. Well, if the village decided we wanted to put a bike rack in front of, say, I don't know, I don't have facts on this one, but in front of the pub or Eurokobe or whatnot, I mean, the village, I suppose, could say, oh, actually, you're going to lose your patio space now because we want to put a bike rack there. I mean, it could go both ways, right? I mean, it's
But
just
being
that's
that,
not what we're doing
you
right
represent
now.
the DDA, listening to the business owners is kind of like key to what your
Yeah,
job is.
I would love to know the name of those businesses, because I have a really good relationship with almost every business owner downtown. I would love to know who has those concerns. And I'm sorry we missed you. I guess you were there a couple minutes before, but it's too bad that you weren't there. It would have been great to have your
And it's
insight.
okay for them to go unnamed. if they don't feel comfortable, we still represent them.
Correct, but when people go unnamed, and, I mean, that's my job to work with my businesses, and so if I don't know who these people are, it's hard to, anyways, but yeah. You're right, absolutely it is, yeah, so.
All right, thank
Any
you.
other- yes,
Let's,
okay.
let's move on.
No problem.
Because
Thank you.
there's no board
Thanks,
action to be
Elizabeth.
taken. Okay, under new business, 10A, the ZBA stipend. Just as a bit of background, discussion and vote was held at the August 24th, 2022 ZBA meeting regarding payment for the performance of their duties. It is not unusual for municipalities to pay their voting board members a small stipend in exchange for their time and commitment. In the board packet, you have a copy of the ZBA minutes of their discussion, and you also have a letter of request from the Zoning Board of Appeals Chairman Andrew Hale requesting stipends of $75 per meeting to be approved. That is the same amount that we just recently approved for our Planning Commission members.
I'd make a motion to approve the $75 per meeting attended for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Parker, we have support by Hart. Is there any other discussion?
I do have a couple questions. Would we get $1,000 per, what did I just say?
Correct.
Would that cover that, or is this going to be in addition to?
It should cover that. There are obviously publication costs, so depending on what the length of the publication could, be revenue neutral. But the fee that the applicant do submit should cover the 5 ZBA members. Currently, there's not 5 on the board, but it could be up to 5.
So currently, what is the breakdown for this $1,000 fee then? If the $75 per, if the $75 per commissioner or board member could fit into that 1,000, that tells me that there's extra outliers. What is the breakdown for the $1,000 fee?
Breakdown would be the administrative duties of our zoning administrator as a publication cost. So then we do have money for the members.
Okay. Because we need to be justifying our fee, so I just want to make sure that this entails that.
Yep.
Okay. And I would like to say that currently I do have a political sign in the yard of one of these members, so I would like to recuse myself so as to not see that there would be any favoritism here politically.
So noted. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I guess I'd change my motion to be contingent on maybe if we could get a breakdown at the next meeting of what the average cost would be that we pay out for that $1,000, just to clarify that it is covered. I didn't even think about that point, Megan, thank you. So could we get that at next meeting? I mean, contingent on that?
Well, again, I don't know that we have the set costs other than the stipends, what we would pay Cindy, because the publication length, the column inches, would vary based on
If we could
what-
see the average of what the
information
last
was.
10 have been or whatnot, if we could see that breakdown, an average cost of what we're spending, just to make sure we are.
Well, we have a motion on the
Well-
floor by Parker, we have support by Hart. We can bring a breakdown, but all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Who's opposed? Are you opposing? Are you-
No, I'd just like
Okay.
to see a breakdown, that's all.
Okay.
I'm abstaining still.
Oh, yes, because you serve on that, yes, okay,
We have 2 abstaining then?
yes.
One recused,
So 5-0 to abstain.
five
Motion
voted.
carries. Okay, moving on to item 10B, the water system use restrictions. Bit of background, during negotiations with Great Lakes Water Authority for water service to the industrial users of Romeo, it was identified that peak hours and peak day exceedances were occurring. In an effort to ensure that Romeo is not charged excessive rates during our contract period, it is necessary to update our existing ordinance, limiting the hours which the users may perform outdoor irrigation, or in the event of a water emergency, that such restrictions may be enforced for Romeo. Mark has drafted the ordinance updates that you have seen. They have been sent to Great Lakes Water Authority, and they are approving that it would meet with their requirements in our negotiations to reduce our Great Lakes Water contract for the next 5 years. And I'll answer any questions I can, or take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Support?
Okay, we have a motion by Hart, we have support by Edwards.
So this is just to limit the outdoor irrigation?
Right, the hours and the times of which they can use their sprinklers, because we were having those peaks that cause a great spike, and Great Lakes Water wanted to adjust our rate, several $100,000 every year, and we were able to negotiate that down with this implementation of some rules. So they can still water, they just can't do it before 5 AM, I think 5 AM, correct, Mark, 5 AM?
6
Yes,
a.m.
6 AM,
Right.
yes.
So, well, could these peaks still be seen if they're internally using high amounts of water? Or is this just, are
You
they
can
just
still have
concerned
a-
about outdoor irrigation? I guess my concern, and it's nothing hidden, is once,
Right.
the marijuana grows start producing a lot of high water use during timeframes, is that something we can reach out to them and say, hey, is there any way you guys can store this water?
Tim is
Or-
monitoring the SCADA data that comes there, so he can identify any peak now. Our contract is observed from June to September, so
Okay.
it's pretty much just during the watering season that those peak days and peak flow months are affected. So whatever happens
during the-
winter months,
the time frames,
it is
okay.
not affected. So it was identified under the current contract, the exceedances that we were able to attribute and find a problem area were from lawn irrigation and from Ford Motor Company for their fire suppression. They had a faulty valve, so it was creating a flow. They had to fill the holding tanks there at a bad time of the day. So they were able to put the repairs in and account for those spikes. So we should be able to reduce that contract with that work.
Okay, I guess still, when the marijuana operations start kicking in full, are we
We're
covered?
gonna have to monitor that. Yep, we're gonna have to
Okay.
monitor the flows. Mhm.
Okay, and then
Absolutely.
hopefully work with them to alleviate any excess.
But for right now, this
This-
ordinance
yeah.
update is just for lawn irrigation times. Yep. So we have a motion on the floor from Hart, support by Edwards. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. You have item 10C, the ordinance update on parking limitations in the Central Business District. Again, bit of background, the DDA requested updated signage to several areas in the Central Business District. This included reduction from 3-hour parking to 2-hour parking limits, changing several spots to 10-minute parking limits, and a change to one-way, which is the southbound alley entrance off of Newberry. The updates, as drafted by legal counsel to our existing ordinance, reflects the action approved by village council at our May 22nd meeting to have the signage installed. Does everybody remember that meeting? We just needed to update the ordinance so that it reflected what we actually approved.
Question in the background, you have, it says 10-minute, and then I look over at the front page of the ordinance, and it says 20-minute.
That's why I underlined those same things. Which one did we want?
I thought it was 10.
It actually, it was not 10, no.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was 15. I thought that's what we talked about at the DDA level.
So-
But
Well,
here
Mark
I am.
wrote 20.
It can be whatever you want it to be. The reason there are blanks in here is
Yes.
because I was provided with a map, and I'll confess a certain ineffectiveness in map reading, and so I could not, to my satisfaction, accurately pinpoint the hours, the places, and where it should be. And I didn't know, also, you'll see if you look at it, I didn't know if you wanted to go from Church Street or Newberry to Washington. I wanted to make sure that you decide what area is to be addressed and where those limitations will be. So you should cut and paste, scratch and rewrite however you want it to be. I just wanted to give you a template so that you could make those decisions. And you can have the 20-minute on the east side of the street and 10 minutes on the west side. However you want to do it, it should reflect how you want the parking to be, keeping in mind that once you make the decision, Chief Sokolnicki and his staff and department are going to have to write the tickets if need be, so.
Yes, yeah, so a couple of questions, I guess, Elizabeth, I think you're standing up. Is there any way you can get us that map or something that breaks down before we make this motion to approve this, that shows us where these parking, where it's gonna be exactly, I mean, if Mark was confused, I'm sure I would be also.
Sure, we can do that. And Mark, I apologize for not being able to get back. I was out of town at a conference last week, so.
And then, real quick,
and I-
my other question, Chief, if we enforce this, change to 2-hour, 20-minute, 15-minute, whatever that means, do we have the means to even enforce this 100%? I mean, if it's going to be a 20-minute turnaround on parking space, are we going to have officers out there to be able to actually even enforce an ordinance we're putting into place?
The ordinances that the village has, that's not an issue. You know, we'll have to sit there with a stopwatch or something because the state of Michigan has decided that you cannot chalk tires.
You can't chalk tires, right?
Yeah.
It's an invasion and a surge. Really? And you can't do that. But if we are in the area and we see somebody who's going to 10-minute thing, you might be there for 10 minutes watching. It's kind of be in our system.
Yeah, I guess.
And that was the discussion that we had, right, both at the DDA board level and at this, when Elizabeth came in and made the presentation, was that really it's not really going to be enforced, but it is a suggestion, and we hope that most people would just be mindful of it, that those 4 spaces were quick in and outs, right? If you know you got a dentist appointment, or if you know you're getting your hair done, you might not want to park in the 10-minute parking space. Let's find another area. But for those that just need a quick in and out, because they know they're going to run in and grab a cup of coffee or grab a soda or ice cream or whatever it is, carry out from the office pub, that they have an opportunity to just park right out front and be a quick in and out.
I just found the invoice from DPW. It is 20 minutes. So
Okay.
it is 20, not the 15 or the 10, yeah. So
Okay.
my apologies for not being able to get back to you, Mark.
Oh, no worries.
That's okay.
And if I could just ask, could we put, Elizabeth, I know you're great at this, and if we could put it on both of, not only the DDA, but also the Village Hall Facebook pages, kind of that the one way is down to, the alley is one way and which direction it's going to, maybe just a cutesy little picture. There was a time, Nathan almost got hit on his bike, and I honked my horn at that person as they almost hit you. So if we could, again, it's something we've talked about here, if you don't watch the meeting all the way till now, so could we just throw out a post and a picture on some of our social media?
Sure, we can do that again. I know I've done it about 3 times since we first did it, but I'd be happy to do it again. Absolutely.
Yeah, and get it on ours also.
I have no control over that, but.
And I believe you already changed the one-way by resolution, which you have the ability to do, so that signage can just change. The one-way is not addressed in this ordinance. This is strictly the parking. And the reason it's done in an ordinance format is because that's the way it is now, and you can't amend an ordinance with a resolution. You can rescind an ordinance, or you can amend an ordinance with another ordinance. So that's why it's presented in the format that it is.
So, does anybody?
Do you know what the streets are? It's within the CBD, right? So it would be what, Church Street to?
Correct, it's from Newbury to Washington.
Newbury to Washington?
I got my map, I can go check my map. Well, I probably should check the map.
I just struggled with the map because the streets weren't named on it. I knew Main
Yes.
Street, but the.
Yes, it's Newbury to Washington. Yeah, because as some of you know, the Central Business District is a very specific space within the downtown. And at the northernmost point, it actually goes to Kezar, which that is Church Street. And then the alley is across the way, but there's no parking on that side. So there's, on that, the west side, so in front of the Kezar Library and whatnot. So the very first spot that could be parked, which is right in front of the Masonic Lodge, so that's Newbury, going down to Washington. And so the farthest south of the Central Business District goes, it's like 4 blocks, not even. That is Old World Nouveau on the the southwest corner. And then the southeast corner is Greg Tarr's building, which is Tar Financial, and the new jail's smokehouse over there. But there's no road parking there. But it really just affects, so yes, so to answer your question, and without going on longer, Newbury to Washington.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the ordinance amendment as prepared with stating that it is between Newbury Street on the north and Washington Street on the south.
In 20 minutes.
And, well, that's what it
It says
says,
20,
though.
yep.
It does say 20 minutes.
But you have three categories, though, which is, again, is fine, it's your decision. There's 2-hour parking allotted, there's 20-minute and no parking, so if the ordinance is adopted, the DPW will just post those signs in those areas. In other words, there's gonna be some, as I understand it, maybe I'm wrong, there's gonna be some 2-hour parking in this
Right.
area.
Right, but they've designated as the
Right.
DDA.
Right.
Can we put in there, per the DDA's request, or,
well,
I mean,
no,
it's not going to be in the ordinance.
No,
but-
and I apologize, maybe I got ahead of what where you were going, that you're addressing three things. I think you can leave it just the way it is, because
Right.
it's gonna be 2-hour parking or 20-minute or no parking.
Right, and those
between
signs are going to be
Washington-
in between there.
Right,
Correct.
and so they'll just post those signs in those areas. I don't think you have to say in front of this address or that address.
Right, because that can change,
Correct.
and we aren't going to do the ordinance,
Right.
okay.
So I think it's sufficient in terms of the three designations, if you're satisfied that there'll be 2-hour parking or 20-minute parking or no parking.
Which I am.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hart. We have support by Edwards.
Can
Any other
we-
discussion?
Yeah, can we, like, put a maximum of how many 20-minute parkings there will be? I mean, if we said it's going to be 4, can we state it's going to be 4? Because I'd hate to see it change to 10 one day, and we've got no say on that.
So I apologize for not being prepared for this part of it tonight. I was here for a couple of the other things. But I came before you all on this, gosh, it was probably at least 6 months ago, and it spelled out exactly how many there were. I just don't have it in front of me.
Oh, sorry,
So
it's
you-
just not written in here, in the ordinance that we're approving tonight.
Correct, but you all already approved what that count was.
Yeah, so I'd just like to see that added to the ordinance, that's what I'm asking.
And the ordinance wouldn't normally, I think, put a number of how many signs would be in there. The ordinance wants to be flexible, that if they come back to do that, so.
Yeah, I mean, as parking changes, as some of our one-off streets change, like Rawls or perhaps on the other side Bailey and whatnot, as we need to add parking in other areas, if you confine that ordinance very specific to numbers, then you're gonna have to revise it again.
Right, you would just come back and ask for us to revise something. We'd like to remove
Right.
2 signs or add 4 more. That's all.
Correct,
And
yes.
we
You as a
approve
board would
those.
have to approve that
Right.
without, unless I'm incorrect.
But for the ordinance, that stands.
Yes, correct. And by the way, the 2-hour signs are already up, Mark.
Excellent.
Because the 3-hour sign, you couldn't even read them before.
Right,
Like, they
they
were
were
so
quite
faded
faded.
and not safe. And some of the do not enter and one way, those have been changed so that it's, for safety's sake, it's already been corrected.
We're just housekeeping at this
Yes.
point.
Yep.
All right, so we have a motion by Hart, we have support by Edwards. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Last item, new business 10D, the F5G lawsuit. Are there any additional questions that you have on that?
Yeah, you just stated earlier, when important issues arise, you like to keep people informed, transparency. Well, this issue happened in June 1st, when it was filed at the courts, and as of tonight, we're just hearing that it's been dismissed. Over several meetings, I've just, tried to keep us informed what's going on, and you kept us in the dark, so. We represent the people, and you're part of that too. To keep your board informed of what's going on is a very important, transparent issue, so. For us just to find out tonight that it's dismissed, and we knew about it since June, it's just like, what you're saying, that, you like to keep people informed.
I appreciate your concern, Zach. I had no information when you asked before to update, right? It was in the courts. It's a matter of filing, getting the documentation back to us, our insurance assigning legal representation, and then scheduling a meeting. We had that meeting with Mark and myself and Catherine and Caroline, who were all part of that process.
Don't you think that's important,
We
that
gave
we
him
be
some
involved in that
instructions.
part?
No,
think it
because
is.
I asked our attorneys, both Mark and the other, was there any issues that I needed to bring to village council? Do we need to call a special meeting? And I was told no. I have a duty and obligation to protect the village from sharing certain information, especially when it comes to legal matters. But I assure you that we've done our due diligence. We did exactly what we need to do. We had a process in place that we were able to say was secure and sound, and the lawsuit that was filed against us was unfounded and has now been dismissed without prejudice.
Well, I got, picked up a copy of the lawsuit in itself. And basically the filing, they filed their application before the ordinance was changed. And then the process of Ms. Trapp returned their application. So that's, the point system then was changed to not to accommodate anyone, but to allow a different perspective to be looked at as far as the village residents, or this board. But I just think it's wrong for the fact that you kept us in the dark for 4 whole months.
I don't think she kept us.
did
I'm not talking to you.
Excuse me, we're
You
going to
kept-
be
you kept us in-
respectful of
you
everybody
kept-
else.
yeah.
I did not
You
keep
kept us
you in the
for
dark.
4
I
months,
had no
and
information to
kept
share,
trying to
Zach.
ask. Well,
I understand that,
There's
Zach.
more information that I'm getting from the website and the newspaper than you're giving us. And then
I
when I
had
ask
no
you
information to
just
give
try
to
to
you.
inform us, you're like, we're gonna have a closed meeting, and then there's nothing, so. I'm just saying, for the fact that you speak of transparency, there's none.
Zach, I appreciate your concern. I know that you're very passionate about this. I am also passionate about protecting the village and being cautious in what I am able to share based on my conversation with our legal counsel and the advice that they have given me. I am following that to the T. And you can ask Mark if you have any concerns about that. I had no updates and information to share with you last month, which is why I said we were removing the closed session item from the agenda, and this month provided the appropriate answer, which is the response that we were able to give and the documentation that we had in the office to counter the accusations in the lawsuit were unfounded, and we are no longer subject to legal action regarding this matter.
Well, you said I can ask Mr. Clark. So,
Motion to adjourn?
you said I can ask Mr. Clark. So, Mr. Clark, at one of our meetings, Clerk Trapp was not here, and we had the conversation regarding altered documents. And you said you were going to talk to her regarding that issue. Had you ever had that opportunity?
What are you doing?
Well, I mean, no, there are issues that happen in
Whose
this
side are you
office.
on? Are you on-
I'm on the resident's side.
Oh, okay.
Within
You're on the lawsuit side.
Within a 4-year period, we keep getting sued.
Yeah, I mean.
You know, we keep getting sued.
Let's be mindful of everyone.
He did
Let's
talk.
be mindful
I mean-
of
I
everyone.
mean, I'm
It's
just.
been
I'm trying-
dropped. Why are we bringing this up?
Hey, that part was dropped.
Excuse
I'm
me,
asking
all
about
right.
a question.
Okay.
Right.
Our attorney
Zach,
said
do
he
you have
hadn't
a
had.
question to
He
Mark?
said he hadn't had an opportunity to question Clerk Trapp regarding that documentation in the office.
Well, the documentation, if I understand the documentation to which you're referring, I don't believe has anything to do with the lawsuit that's been dismissed.
Correct,
All right, so,
correct.
all right,
Let's
so
be-
so then, let's not let that be a topic. Let's not have that be a topic. And so, the lawsuit was filed. You were made aware, the board was made aware the lawsuit was filed.
When was it filed?
I believe it was in June. I didn't bring the file with me. I thought there would be joy in Mudville about
Thank you.
the dismissal, but
Without prejudice.
I can get you all that information. I believe it was filed in June. It might have been May. I responded on behalf of the village, and at the same time, I advised Ms. Trapp and Mrs. Malzahn to refer the matter to the village's insurance carrier in case there was coverage. Oftentimes in what are zoning type matters, which this isn't really a zoning matter, but these types of issues, the insurance doesn't cover it. They referred it, and thankfully, it is covered by the village's insurance company. I believe the village has a deductible. I'm not saying that there was no money spent. And the village also paid me for my part in the participation until the insurance council began representing the village. I exchanged correspondence with representatives of the insurance company, both its counsel, and also I believe she's called an account administrator, maybe she has another title, Diane Wynn, who's been with the Municipal League Insurance underwriter for years. I've known her for probably 30 years. So we had these discussions, correspondence was exchanged among the participants. We had a meeting, I believe it was before your, I'm sorry, I believe it was after your August meeting. I could be wrong, but again, the date can be determined, and I'll gladly, if I'd have known, I'd have brought the file with me, and I apologize for not doing so. I can tell you exactly when we met, who was at the meeting, and what we talked about. And the upshot of the meeting was, there was going to be a request of the plaintiff's attorney to dismiss the lawsuit. And the request was made, and the lawsuit was dismissed. And if my chronology is accurate, which it may not be, if my chronology is accurate, there was no meeting to take place between, no village council meeting that was going to take place, whereby that was all done and you weren't made aware of it. And so the lawsuit was dismissed, I want to say, in early this month, early September, around Labor Day, maybe a few days after, and so now you're told of that, and it's a successful conclusion to the litigation, for which I'm very thankful and pleased.
Amen.
Thank you. Thanks for informing.
Were any damages paid by the village
No.
besides the deductible?
No damages.
We
It was
had no deductible.
dismissed. It was dismissed.
Thank you.
There's zero deductible, so any work that was done did not incur any expenses on the village
Motion to
side.
adjourn?
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned, 8:55.
Thank you, Zach.